Nebraska has one of their biggest games of the year this Saturday. The Big Red take on the undefeated number 16th ranked Indiana Hoosiers on the road. So in today's video, I'm going to give you a complete preview of this matchup. What does Indiana bring to the table? What does Nebraska need to do in order to win? And everything else you need to know. So really quick, we have a lot to discuss. If you're pumped up about this game, I know I am. Hit that like button. And hey, if you're new to the channel or still a returning viewer, make sure to subscribe. I post daily Nebraska football content. So if you're a diehard Husker fan, make sure to subscribe. You will be thanking yourself that you did. But without further ado, let's get into it. Going over this matchup, one of the biggest games of the weekend, Nebraska versus the undefeated Indiana Hoosiers in Bloomington, 11 a.m. kickoff on Fox. And this will likely decide the rest of Nebraska's season, how well they perform against one of the best teams in America. Indiana's head coach is Curt Cignetti, first year coming in from James Madison. The Hoosiers are 6-0 for the first time since 1967. And this guy, he's just a pure winner. Over his coaching career, he has an 80% winning percentage, which is unbelievable. He's an offensive mastermind. And I told you guys in the offseason, I really like that hire for Indiana. Now, did I expect him to turn around that program this quickly? Absolutely not. But he is the real deal. And one of the best coaches in America. He's in the running for Coach of the Year already. So their head coach is Curt Cignetti. Let's start off with their offense because that is his forte. Their quarterback is Curtis O'Rourke, transfer from the Ohio Bobcats. And in 6 games, he has been one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football. He's passed for 1,700 yards, 14 touchdowns, and only 2 interceptions. And get this, he is the second best QB in America, only second to Blake Horvath at Navy. He also has an insane 74% completion percentage. So again, he checks all the boxes on the statistics. Really good accuracy, really good arm strength. He is a very, very smart quarterback, great IQ. He always finds the open receiver. He's not very mobile, but he can run when needed to get the first down. So for that reason, he's been a top 20 quarterback in college football these couple of weeks. And I expect that to be the exact same way when Indiana takes on Nebraska. Let's get to their running back core. Their head man is Justice Ellison, very shifty running back, good speed, good juke move. Again, has the ability to take any single run to the house. He has, in 6 games, 400 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 6 yards a carry. But they are a running back by committee type of offense. They also have Tyshawn Law, who has 330 yards, 7 touchdowns. Also very shifty, more of a third down back. But those guys will trade carries versus Nebraska. And they have one of the best rushing offenses in the country as well. Let's get back to their passing offense. We talked about how good of a quarterback they have. But is their receiver core any good as well? Spoiler alert, it is. Their best receiver is Elijah Surratt, who is a transfer coming in from James Madison. He had 1,000 yards last year for the Dukes. But this year for Indiana, he's had over 500 yards and 2 touchdowns. Again, he's listed at 6'2", really solid speed, really solid hands. He is a guy that Nebraska is going to have to worry about. But other than him, they have a lot of other guys. Omar Cooper, fast receiver in that room. Miles Prince, more of a shifty 5'9" type of guy, but they like to get him involved. They have Miles Cross, who's a solid route runner. And then they have one other guy who is their starting tight end, who is very, very good as well. So this is one of the deepest receiver cores Nebraska has went up with so far. Curt Cignetti really likes speed in his receiver core. It's very deep. A lot of guys can get it done. Nebraska has to play well in the secondary in order to win. Talking about their offensive line, rounding out the offensive unit, it's really good. It is a good offensive line. They average about 5 yards per carry. They're great in the running game. They're also good in the pass pro. They only give up 1.2 sacks a game, which ranks 29th best in America. Listen, they have one of the best offenses in the country, period. They're 9th in points, and they're also 9th in yardage per game. Nebraska's going to have to shut this down. We know they're talented. They're talented in almost every single aspect. You know, when you have great statistics like that, you have to be good in the passing game and running game. Nebraska has their hands full on defense. Let's get to their defense. What does the Indiana do on that side of the football? Talking about their defensive line, definitely the best part of this defense for the Hoosiers. They have the 16th best run defense in all of college football. They give up less than 100 yards per game, but they also can get to the quarterbacks. They're top 30 in sacks, averaging about 2.6 a ball game. They're led by Mikhail Kamara, who has 5 sacks on the season. They also have James Carpenter, who's a bigger interior guy with 2 sacks. So really good defensive line. This is a good Indiana team, guys. I mean, you guys should expect that. They're 6-0. They're ranked number 16, but almost every single positional group is one of the best in the Big Ten. This defensive line is no different. They get to the quarterback. They stop the run. They do a good job. Linebacker core, very solid as well. They're led by Aiden Fisher, who is 4th in the Big Ten in tackles with 55. They also have Jaleel Walker, who's a little bit more of an athletic linebacker. He can get it done too. So good linebacker core. Not as good as the defensive line, but very, very solid. And then their secondary, I would say, is probably the worst part of this Indiana defense. But that's not to say it's bad. It's still a very, very good secondary. They actually are top 30 in passing defense. They only give up 184 yards a game. They have a couple really good standouts in that secondary. Sean Asbury, who's a transfer from Old Dominion, and then D'Angelo Pond, who's a transfer from James Madison. So they shut down the passing attack. I will say this about Indiana's defense. They don't take the ball away. In 6 games, they only have 3 interceptions. I think they only have 1 or 2 fumble recoveries. So, again, they don't take the ball away. It's the only thing that I'd say about this defense that's really, really not that great. Nebraska needs to exploit that. But overall, man, Indiana's a good team. Good offense, good defense. Their average margin of victory is 32 points. But I will say this. They haven't played anybody. Their non-conference schedule was about as easy as it gets. And in the Big Ten, they have played nobody as well. Maryland, UCLA, and Northwestern were the 3 teams they've played. Northwestern was probably the hardest of the bunch, so they really don't have any good win on their schedule. Nebraska will be by far the biggest test they've had so far. We'll see what happens. So, as always, I'm going to save my game predictions until Friday, the day before the matchup. But I'm going to give you my keys to the game for Nebraska. How does the Big Red get it done? Number 1, you got to slow down this passing attack for the Hoosiers. You know, it's easier said than done. I don't expect them to shut it down, but you've got to slow it down. And that starts with the defensive line. The defensive line needs to get to the quarterback early. We need guys like, Ty Robinson, Jamari Butler to have big days for Nebraska. And you also need guys like Tommy Hill, who's coming back from injury, Sear Wright, Marquise Buford to step up, get interceptions, force, some bad throws by this quarterback, get in his head a little bit. A lot of times football is more of a psychological game than anything. So hopefully, again, this defensive line gets to the quarterback. We can get some interceptions. Got to slow down its passing attack. Number 2, play your brand of football. Okay. Indiana goes quick. They're a very fast-paced offense. They score a lot of points. Nebraska is more of a slower-paced offense. Again, they like to dominate time of possession, run the football down your throat. Play your brand of football. Because a lot of times when you play high-powered offense like Indiana, they force you to play their brand. And it's a shootout from the beginning. And with the second it gets to that, Nebraska's going to lose. You've got to play your brand of football, slow the game down, dominate time possession, take the ball away, play physical, and then that'll give you the best chance to succeed. Number 3. You got to win the turnover battle. We just talked about it. Force Curtis O'Rourke to throw some bad passes again. He's a really good quarterback. But you've got to get in his head. And at the same time, you got to shut down the rushing attack. Nebraska has the second best rush defense in America. It's got to stay that way. You got to make this Indiana offense one-dimensional. And then hopefully you can take the ball away. So you got to win this turnover battle. Number 4, you got to get Dylan Raiola going. Listen, this rushing attack has not been great for Nebraska the last 2 weeks. This has got to be a Dylan Raiola statement game, breakout game, whatever you want to call it. You got to get his arm going. He needs to bounce back because he's the X factor on this team. Last but not least, this has been the key to the game all season. Make your darn kicks, especially in a game like this that's likely going to be high scoring against a really good offense. You've got to make your kicks. Any opportunity, you got to take it to put points on the board. I expect Indiana to put up 28, 30 points, even a little bit more than that. Listen, I think this defense is going to slow them down. We just can't shut it down because it's a very good Indiana offense. We've got to give them respect. But at the same time, I expect this offense for Nebraska to show up and show out. There's going to be opportunities for us to put in field goals. You've got to make them because every point matters against a really good offense like Indiana. All right, guys, big time game. Huge matchup that's likely going to define the rest of the season for the Huskers. How good are we really? Are we good enough to win 9, 10 games, or are we just good enough to win 7? We'll find out on Saturday. So, all right, let me know down below. What are your thoughts about this matchup, Nebraska versus Indiana? Let me know in the comment section. Hey, if you made this far in the video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. As always, folks, go Big Red, go Matt Rhule, and see you in the next one.